you're joining me here live on the the British Stratus, where I hope to educate you about working at height and how to best stay safe while doing so. I hope to show you the safest way to do anything, which of course is by following COSWP. So we'll of course be covering that. Now please get comfortable, sit back and enjoy this relatively short presentation. Now let's head out on deck for the next bit. Yes, here we go, wandering out on deck. Yes, oh yes, now we're on to. Oh, it's a bit chilly. Oh yes, just pop on my safety gear. Yes, now we're out on deck. Thanks for joining me out here on deck, where of course I am wearing the relevant safety equipment. Now let's talk about COSWP Chapter 17. Prepare to be amazed. Now, the first part of Chapter 17 of COSWP is an introduction, so to speak. It defines working at height as anyone working in a location where there could be risk of falling, including but not limited to inside a tank, around the opening of a tank or hatch, or over the side. Now, 17.1 also has a second section which details all work done at height should be risk assessed prior to carrying out the relevant control measures in place, depending on the severity of the risk. As you can see, I filled my risk assessment out, and so we're ready to go. Now, 17.2, a more general part of COSWP Chapter 17, states that it should only be done if there's no reasonable alternative, and where it is done, the company must ensure it is properly planned, supervised, and carried out in the safest possible manner. Only a competent person must undertake this work, or the supervising of this work, and if you're being trained, you must be accompanied by another person who is competent in this task. 17.2 General continued. People under the age of 18 or with less than 12 months experience at sea, like all of you people there, including you. Apart from you, Captain Aslam, not you. It should not be working at loft unless it forms part of their planned training and are accompanied by a competent person or otherwise adequately supervised. The equipment that they are using must be fit for purpose and meeting the requirements of Chapter 18 and used in good practice, i.e. using it correctly. We shouldn't be using the harnesses for other things. 17.2 General continued. When working at height, you will be unable to give your full attention to both the job and not plummeting to your death. Therefore, proper precautions should be taken to ensure personal safety and is being taken into account, as well as the movement of the ship in seaway and poor weather conditions. Now, all equipment, as previously mentioned, should be in good working order. Personnel working aloft should wear safety harnesses, lifelines, or other fall arresters. A safety net should be rigged where appropriate. If over the side of the vessel, you should wear a life jacket. And persons on deck should observe, yes. 17.2. Now, other than in emergency situations, for example, you've perhaps run out of tea, you should not work over the side when the vessel's underway. It has to be done when lifeboats or rescue boats are ready for immediate use also. Before working near the ship's whistle, the whistle should be isolated and notes posted on the bridge and in machinery spaces, so we don't deafen any of our colleagues. Before working on the funnel, the duty engineer should be informed to reduce as far as possible the release of harmful gases, steam and fumes. 17.2 continued yet again. Before doing work near the radar/radio antennas, the notes should be posted near the equipment and they should be isolated. Then all isolations and notes should be removed once the work is completed, not to hinder any of our colleagues. And tools should be moved in a container to minimise risk of dropping them and when in use, they should be secured by a lanyard. 17.3 Portable ladders. Working from ladders should be avoided, but if necessary, a harness should be worn and secured higher than the work level. A portable ladder should only be used where there's no other form of access that is reasonably practical. Wooden ladders should not be painted or treated and should be stored in a dry location away from the heat source. Yes. 17.3 Portable ladders continued. Portable ladders should be pitched at 75 degrees from the horizontal and on a firm base, properly secured with at least 150 millimeters behind the rungs. The ladder should also extend at least 1 meter above any landing place unless there are proper handholds. When portable extending ladders are in use, there should be sufficient overlap between the extensions. 17.3 Portable ladders continued. Personnel using ladders should use both hands when moving up or down the ladder and not carrying anything in their hands. When working, 3 points of contact should be maintained with the ladder. Now, planks should not be supported on rungs of the ladder and making sort of a makeshift stage, nor should ladders be used horizontally for this purpose. I've got a nice graphic just up there. We can see it says all of the angles, which I can have my assistant over there provide a copy of that to you if you so desire. He might need to go away and print it for you, though he doesn't have any copies with him. 17.4 Cradles and stages. Cradles should be at least 430 millimeters wide and fitted with guardrails or stanchions with taut ropes to a height of 1 meter from the floor. Toe boards add safety, so we like lots of toe boards. Planks and materials used for the construction of ordinary plank stages must be carefully examined for use of for defects. I might even pop on my glasses to really carefully examine them. Now, wooden components of staging should be stowed in dry, ventilated spaces and away from heat sources to prevent further damage. 17.4 Cradles, stages continued. Ancillary equipment, lizards, presumably not the small reptile, blocks and gantlines should be thoroughly examined before use. When stage is over the side, 2 gantlines should be used in its rigging and should be at least long enough to trail into the water below to provide additional lifelines should the person fall. We should also have one of the life buoys, yes, and lines should be kept ready nearby. Gantlines, they should not be used, for any other purpose, and should be kept clear of sharp edges when in use. 17.4 Cradles and stages continued. Anchoring points, blocks and lizards, again presuming not the small reptiles, they must be of adequate strength, and where practical, permanent fixtures of the ship, like integral lugs, which should be hammer tested. Portable rails must not be used as anchoring points. Anchoring points should be treated as lifting plans and checked under the other section of COSWP, Chapter 19. Stages and staging that are not suspended should always be secured against movement, and hanging states should be restricted against the movement to the extent practicable. So, to the most practical extent. In machinery spaces, the staging and its support should be kept clear of contact with hot surfaces or moving parts like the propeller. In the engine room, a crane gantry should not be used directly as a platform for cleaning or painting, but can be used as the base for a stable platform if suitable precautions are taken. 17.4 Cradles and stages continued. Where personnel are working from a stage and are required to raise or lower it themselves, great care must be taken to keep movements very, very small. And guidance for rail and trolley systems for overside can be found in MGN, that's MGN 422, that's Mike Golf November, Carte 4, Bisso 2, Bisso 2, open brackets, M, close brackets. Now, 17.5 focuses very much on the chair of the bosun, the bosun's chair. When used with a gantline, the chair should be secured to it with a double sheet bend. It's one of those fancy knots, and the end should be seized to the standing part with an adequate tail. Hooks shouldn't be used to secure the bosun's chair unless they are of the type that, because of their special construction, cannot be accidentally dislodged, and have a marked safe working load that is adequate for purpose. 17.5 The bosun's chair continued. On each occasion that a bosun's chair is rigged for use, the chair and gantlines, and lizards again, presuming it's not the small reptilians, must be thoroughly examined and renewed to check if there's any sign of damage. Obviously, if there is any sign of damage, we shouldn't be using that, should we now? No. They should also be load tested to at least 4 times the load that they are required to lift before a person is hoisted. When a chair is to be used for riding, topping lifts or stays, it is essential that the bow of the shackle and not the pin rides on the wire. The pin, in any case, should be seized. More bosun's chair. I must pick up the pace now. When it's necessary to haul a person aloft in the bosun's chair, it's generally done only by hand, rather than by using a winch. In the case of mast access on a large sailing yacht, a winch may be used by a competent person, providing the risk assessment. The risk assessment has been completed and effective safety measures are put in place to control the risks identified. If the seafarer is required to lower themselves using the bosun's chair, they should first bind both parts of the gantline together with a suitable piece of line to secure the chair before making the lowering hitch. The practice of holding on with one hand and making the lowering hitch with the other is dangerous. It may be prudent to have someone standing by the tend to tend the lines. 17.6 Working from punts. Punts should be stable and provided with suitable fencing, suitable fencing. Unsecured trestles and planks should not be used to give additional height. Safety lines and a working life jacket should be used. Before a punt is used, the person in charge should have due regard to the strength of the tides and other hazards, such as wash from passing vessels. When work is to be done at or near the stern or bow or stern thrusters, the person in charge should inform the duty, deck and engineering officers and gentlemen, or gentlewomen, so that equipment is isolated and or warning notices placed in the engine room, on the bridge and at any local controls. The duty, engineer and deck officers, or gentlemen/women, should be informed by the person in charge when there are personnel working in the vicinity of the ship's side, discharges, so that they're not used until the work's complete. Equipment should be isolated and notices posted. Yes, 17.7 Scaffolding. Annex 17.4 gives further guidance. Only scaffolding of an approved design should be used and rigged in conformity with general recognised configurations. If necessary, a calculation of its strength should be carried out and recorded, and care should be taken when assembling and dismantling the scaffold. Great care should be taken to ensure of the structure and safe access to it. If it's a mobile structure, the securely fixed to ensure that it is not inadvertently moved while in use. Anyone rigging or dismantling scaffolding should have received adequate training. Measures such as adequate safety rails should be incorporated to prevent the risks of the persons or objects falling off. Care must be taken to ensure that the safe working load of the structures is not exceeded. And well, that's the end of my PowerPoint there. So I suppose I'll wander back inside here And yes, now I'm inside. I shall take off my safety safety gear. Now, if you'd like to ask any questions to my non-virtual colleague over there, please do. Now, thank you and goodbye. That's Bonjour Dre signing out.